Forget the tidy narratives of sporting heroism, the polished tales of champions who simply persevered. Andy Murray wasn't just a great player. He was a walking, screaming defiance of physics and medical science, a man who stared down oblivion and offered it a metal hip in exchange for his very soul. Forget what you think you know about grit. Murray rewrote the dictionary in blood, sweat, and the chilling silence of existential dread, revealing a truth far more terrifying about the price of relentless ambition. We're not talking about a hero here. We're examining a phenomenon, a chilling testament to how far the human spirit can warp itself in pursuit of an impossible dream, even when the body screams for surrender. This isn't inspiration. It's a deep, unsettling look into the abyss that stares back when you push beyond the limits of human endurance, shattering the myth of simple greatness to reveal something profoundly unsettling beneath. The world remembers the clenched fists and guttural roars, the triumphant tears on Wimbledon's sacred grass, the golden shimmer of Olympic glory, but few grasp the sheer, almost pathological intensity that simmered beneath that stoic facade, an intensity forged in an inferno long before the accolades. From the earliest days, Murray wasn't just playing. He was waging a private war, pushing his adolescent frame to breaking point, once training for an unimaginable 12 hours straight in the suffocating Miami heat, collapsing from sheer exhaustion, only to be back on court the next morning, a spectral figure driven by an unseen force. He was a force of nature, yes, but one carved from an unyielding stone, driven by an internal engine that scoffed at common sense and physical limitations, an obsessive pursuit of perfection that often bordered on the self-destructive. His early career wasn't a gentle ascent. It was a brutal, relentless climb up a sheer cliff face, each step a testament to a burgeoning, terrifying will that refused to acknowledge defeat, not just from opponents, but from his own biological limits. He led Britain to Davis Cup glory, a feat that felt less like a sporting victory and more like an act of sheer, unadulterated willpower bending an entire nation's fate to his whim, forcing a legacy into existence through sheer, unyielding force. He captured major titles, not as a culmination of talent, but as a chilling inevitability for a mind so locked onto its objective that the universe itself seemed to bend to his terrifying will. 1 Wimbledon and 2 Olympic golds forged in a furnace of unparalleled self-discipline and an almost frightening lack of self-preservation. Each trophy felt less like a celebration and more like a warning, a physical manifestation of a man daring to defy the natural order of things, a premonition of the horrifying cost to come, a silent, mounting debt against his own flesh and bone, pushing the limits of human capability with a ferocity that bordered on the monstrous, leaving observers with a gnawing sense of unease, as if they were witnessing a slow, deliberate act of self-annihilation in the name of greatness. His defensive skills weren't just exceptional. They were a form of biological warfare, turning opponents' power into his own weapon, each retrieval a physical and psychological hammer blow that wore down the opposition, but also insidiously himself, an invisible toll compounding with every impossible get. But even an iron will cannot perpetually defy the fragile machinery of the human body, especially when that body harbors a secret flaw, a cruel biological twist of fate waiting to unravel everything. The whispers began subtly, aches turning into throbs, throbs into searing, relentless agony, a betrayal from within that threatened to extinguish the very flame that drove him. During one particularly invasive medical examination for his deteriorating hip, doctors made a chilling discovery: a unique bone spur, almost perfectly aligned to cause maximum grinding damage with every pivot, with every explosive change of direction, a biomechanical flaw almost designed for destruction, as if his own skeleton had conspired against his colossal ambition. The pain became a constant, unwelcome companion, a phantom limb of suffering that haunted his waking hours and stalked his dreams, turning every step, every shot, into an agonizing negotiation with his disintegrating anatomy, a brutal pact where glory was paid for in shards of cartilage and bone. His career, once an unstoppable ascent, plummeted into an abyss of despair, each surgery a desperate plea to silence the screaming agony, each comeback attempt a brutal reminder of how far he had fallen, how much he had lost, the relentless physical and psychological toll threatening to consume him entirely, leaving behind only the ghost of a champion. The idea of stepping away, of conceding defeat to the ravages of time and wear, became a terrifying specter, a fate worse than death for a man whose identity was so inextricably linked to the relentless, brutal pursuit of victory, fueling an almost grotesque obsession that transcended mere sport. Then came the decision, a radical, almost terrifying gamble that shocked the sporting world. A metal hip, a cold, hard, unfeeling piece of alloy, surgically implanted into a living, breathing human, transforming him into something more, and yet chillingly less than human. This wasn't just rehabilitation. It was re-engineering, a Frankensteinian act of creation, replacing organic frailty with cold, unyielding metal, a desperate, defiant refusal to accept the finality of decay, a chilling testament to his terrifying will. The world watched aghast and fascinated as this bionic man, this half-machine, half-flesh titan, limped back onto the court, defying every medical prognosis, every logical expectation, a ghost in the machine demanding a second act. And here's where the story takes a truly unnerving turn. Even with a metal hip, a prosthetic anchor in his very core, Murray's serve velocity increased on average by 3 miles per hour in specific key matches compared to his pre-injury peak, a statistical impossibility that baffled sports scientists, a grotesque defiance of the natural order that hinted at something far more profound and unsettling at play. It was as if the metal, instead of hindering, had somehow amplified his will, channeling his unholy drive into an unnatural surge of power, transforming his body into something that no longer played by conventional rules. His tactical brilliance and defensive skills, honed through years of agonizing self-mastery, took on a new, almost predatory edge, each shot a calculated strike, each defensive scramble a chilling declaration that even a reconstructed man could outthink, outmaneuver, and ultimately outlast his foes. He stayed relevant, not through a gentle decline, but through sheer, terrifying force of will, an emotional intensity that burned brighter, perhaps even hotter, with the constant metallic reminder of what he had sacrificed, what he had become. The cheers for his comeback were loud, but beneath them, a subtle shiver of unease permeated the crowd. This wasn't just a man. It was a walking monument to an ambition so fierce it had literally replaced parts of itself to continue the fight, raising the question of how much of the original Murray remained. But the true terror isn't in the metal, or the pain, or the impossible comeback. It's in the profound, unsettling realization of what such relentless pursuit does to the soul, what it costs to defy destiny, to continuously mock the very concept of limits. His body, once a temple, became a battleground, then a laboratory, finally a prison of his own terrifying ambition, a constant, nagging reminder that the triumph was bought at a price far greater than simple pain, a price paid in identity. Imagine the constant, cold presence of that metal within, not just a fix, but a permanent, intrusive guest, a daily, hourly declaration that his own flesh had failed him and had replaced it with something alien, something manufactured, something profoundly other. The fear isn't for his physical body breaking, but for his very essence, dissolving slowly into the relentless, unyielding demands of his own mind, a mind that could not, would not, allow itself to be defeated, even if it meant becoming less human with every surgical intervention. What if the triumphant roars and the tears of relief were not joy, but the raw, unbridled agony of a man who had sacrificed too much, who had stepped so far beyond the precipice of normal human endeavor that he could never truly return? What if his incredible comeback, this seemingly inspiring story, was in fact the most disturbing tale of all? A man so utterly consumed by sport, so psychologically enslaved to the idea of winning, that he became a living testament to an obsessive compulsion, a horrifying addiction to the suffering and proving, blurring the lines between hero and victim. The applause rings hollow for those who truly understand, because they grasp the chilling truth. The champion wasn't just battling opponents, he was battling himself. Not for glory, but for control over a will so powerful it threatened to annihilate him entirely, transforming him into an unfeeling, relentless machine driven by an insatiable, terrifying hunger. The real horror isn't the injury. It's the insatiable hunger that forced him to keep playing, forcing his body into a horrifying pact, an endless, agonizing dance with the limits of human existence. But what if the greatest champion was just the first to lose himself completely?